He was like, I feel like you're not letting me lead, and I can't thrive in what God ordained me to do and thrive in my masculinity. I really had to understand, like, lead me? Hello family, and welcome back. Welcome if you're new here. My name is Salathia, and this is Home God's Way. Okay, literally what it says. I teach on living at home in God's perfect way. This is a safe space where we talk about our faith, where we talk about living a purposeful, intentional life that God has given us, and God has a purpose for all of us. So, we have to make sure that we're living a godly life in our homes as well. It starts at home, and then we bring it out. Today, we're going to talk about submitting to our husbands. And just giving honor to God in our marriages and with our children. So submission is very misunderstood in this society, and I'm going to clear that up. And I'm going to talk about exactly what it is and how we can live, submitting to our husbands God's way. Okay, not how society believes that it is. That's why it's put in such a negative light. So sorry, I got my daughter. What is submission? And how exactly are we supposed to submit to our husbands? Let me start off by saying what it's not. Submission is not losing your voice. It is not being inferior and being less than your husband. That is not what submission means. Submission is respecting your husband, trusting his leadership, and working together as a team. So in the Bible, it says in Ephesians chapter 5, verse 22 through 24, it says, wives, submit to your husbands as you submit to the Lord. So it makes sense, because if you're submitting to God, which you're supposed to be, why would I not submit to my husband? So first and foremost, we need to submit to God. And in doing that, we need to trust God's leadership. The Bible literally gives you a whole plethora of characteristics that God has. And God is the ultimate leader. He is the ultimate leader. He guides us every single day. He speaks to us every single day, whether you know it or not. And I'm going to do another video on that. And he knows exactly what our purpose is. God literally only wants the best for his people. He would never put us in harm's way. He will never put us in a situation to where we can't handle something. God loves us dearly. So if we can submit to God, our husbands have to submit to God. That way we can submit to our husbands. Does that make sense? If my husband was not submitting to God at all, I would be like, no, I think I'm good. Or pray for him, so he can get there. But, he ultimately has to be submitting to God as well. And that way we can submit to him, because we know that he is under God's leadership. So that we'll be okay. I remember when I first got married, it was so hard for me to submit. I think that is the biggest flaw for me. The biggest flaw I have is submission. Having control. I just grew up, making my own decisions and, relying on that, which never worked. But, I was supposed to be submitting to God and asking God, hey, God, what do I do for today? What do you want me to do? What is my purpose? I was not doing that until, probably a year ago. So for me, can you stop for a second, please? Yes. I'm trying to record a video. For me, it was just I was having a very hard time submitting and letting go of control. Oh my God, y'all. I felt like I couldn't rely on many people. And so I'm I have to take on all of this myself. I have to do everything myself in order to be okay and all this kind of stuff. Like, and that's just not how it was supposed to be, because I was always stressed out. Always, my head is about to explode. I'm like, I made a decision that was wrong, and now I put myself in this situation that I'm trying to dig myself out of. It was a lot. So I had to learn to let go of control to God first, which was hard. Okay, I'm still working on it. I'm in a really huge transition in season right now, and it's literally requiring me to put all of my trust in God. Literally all of my trust in God. So you have to do that first in order to be able to submit to your spouse. It's not easy, okay? If you're the type of person that, has to have everything under control, or, you have to know what's going to come before, you have to know what's going to come forward. You have to make all the decisions yourself and all this kind of stuff. Honey, that's not it. Because like when you rely on God and trust God, like, you have so much peace, like, because he will never steer you wrong. And that's why, if God won't steer you wrong, he's telling you what to do. He's telling you the path to go down. I'm cool. Yes, like, tell me the way to go, and I will have peace in knowing that I don't have to do much. I just have to do what God is going to tell me to do, and trust that it's going to prosper. Trust that I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be great, actually. So, sorry, I kind of got off track a little bit, but that's the foundation of submitting to your spouse, is submitting to God first. One day, my husband came to me, and, every little thing I would just kind of nitpick, like, no, I need it done this way, or I need it done at this time, or, something like that. And so one day he came to me and he was like, I feel like you're not letting me lead, and I can't thrive in what God ordained me to do and thrive in my masculinity. I said, wow, that's the first time I've ever heard somebody say that. And I really had to understand, like, lead? Me? I was confused. I'm like, wait, okay. So at that moment, I had to check myself. And I'm like, all this time, I've been relying on myself to do things. And here somebody comes telling me I'm not letting them lead. So I had to come to the realization of letting go of control. But I was trying with him, and I couldn't do it. Like, it just kept coming back. And the nitpicking. And so then I started to really, really, really get in the Word, and I joined this church, and they really speak on, like, deep about purpose. And so I started to get really in the Word and studying it. That is when I started to submit to God. Because I'm like, oh, wow, like, God gives us instructions. God tells us what to do next. God knows our path. He gave us our purpose. And I don't know, I grew up in church, but I just never, I guess, knew that. Like, and so I started to really ask God. I'm like, okay, God, well, what is my purpose? And like, what instructions do you have for me? I want to hear your voice, because I didn't know how to hear God at all. And everything just started to come into, oh my God, like puzzle pieces just being put together. And I started to understand so many things, but that's why I'm here. But anyway, I started to submit to God and what he wanted me to do. And that made it so much easier to submit to my husband. And after that, like, our marriage started to get a whole lot better. Started to be a whole lot stronger. Okay? Me being able to trust him with things. I'm still working on it. But me being able to trust him with things as God is, doing for him. It's just, it brings so much peace, you guys. Like, oh my goodness. And then let me point out some why can't I talk today? Let me point out some misconceptions about submission. So I'm sure you've heard people say like submission may be you have to be so agreeable that you agree with everything your husband says. No. Okay. You still have your own right to, make your own decision. There's some things you will agree with him on. Probably a lot of things, whatever. But that doesn't mean every single thing. That's not what submission is. Your opinions matter. And there is supposed to be mutual respect in the household. I just have to point that out. Another misconception is abuse. Okay? God never calls you to endure harm in the name of submission. So if you're in a harmful or abusive relationship or marriage, that is not of God, and that is not submission. Where your husband feels like he has to control every move you make, you don't have a voice, you can't say anything to him, and all that kind of stuff. No, honey. Okay? And I encourage you to seek God about that. Okay? If you struggle really bad with submission, or it's confusing to you, or you may feel like stubborn in that area, I just encourage you to go to God about it and just pray about it. Ask him to give you clarity. Ask him to give you that strength to be able to do that, because it's not easy to get there, but once you're there, it's very peaceful. Okay? Ask God to give you wisdom and understanding about this topic, and ask him to show you exactly what submission looks like in your unique marriage. It could be different for some people, because I know different couples have different ways of doing things in households. So just ask him how you should go about that. I also want to point out that, I'm sorry if I'm all over the place, y'all, but submission is not letting your man make mistakes. Every man, all of us are going to make mistakes still, okay? So that is where grace comes in, okay? And you would have to give him grace for making certain mistakes, you know what I'm saying? But, God gives us grace. He knows we're not perfect, so he gives us grace all the time. So we should do that due diligence and give him that grace when he makes mistakes. Leading, that's what leading is. Like leading, you're going to make mistakes along the way, but that's how you learn, that's how you grow. So don't make him stagnant by not letting him lead. But that is it for today. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, and comment. I would love to hear your comments on any thoughts you have, any questions you have. I'm an open book. So I will see you guys on the next one. You want to say bye?
Yeah.
Say bye.
Bye.